So I guess I'll give you my background first, and you guys just feel free to stop me if you got any questions for me, or wait till the end. It doesn't matter. I've got some pictures of different stuff we've done as a class, and then as me as an individual, and in my career too. So we'll show them. We got one more that just popped in here. So I'll get started with a little history on myself. So I grew up on a dairy farm, kind of down towards Hillsboro, Wisconsin. So about an hour and a half southeast from La Crosse on Alaska area here where I'm at now. And always just kind of had an interest in woodworking. I was in 4-H, so always did woodworking in 4-H. And, we had a few tools around the farm and I'd make things. And, as I got into my high school years, I was making clocks, doing a lot of fret work with a scroll saw and making a lot of clocks and stuff that way, and taking them to fairs and going to state fair and stuff with it. And then I had an uncle that's a painter, and he paints in Wisconsin Dells. So I started helping him in the summers and kind of got a feel for that construction atmosphere. And I liked it, and I always wanted to be a carpenter. I didn't want to be a painter. Nothing wrong with painting, but it hurts your hands after a while. So I didn't want to be a painter. I did that for 2 summers for 50-hour weeks. And I decided that I really wanted to do construction, and I really liked on the job site. I wanted to be that head guy. I wanted to be the superintendent. That's who everybody always asks questions to, the painters or the HVAC guys or electricians. All them people would ask questions to the superintendent, and he'd usually know the answer. So I wanted to be that guy, that was kind of my goal, right? So I graduated high school in 2000. In 2001, I came up to La Crosse here and went to Western for their wood tech program, and got hired by Weiser Brothers after that. And I don't know how many of you guys have heard of Weiser, but they're pretty large now. They weren't as large when I started working for them. We had 36 employees, and I worked for them for 14 years, I think. So I grew within that company pretty rapidly. I think in part to the program that I took and the background that I had in it coming in, but also from hard work standpoint and showing up early and staying late, getting things locked up, unlocking things for people. And so within 3 years, I was actually a superintendent for Weiser. So hit my goal pretty fast. And then I set different goals, so in the construction trades, you can keep setting your goals, right? And they could be little goals or big goals, but, after I was superintendent, I wanted a work van, right? I wanted my own work van. They wanted them to give me a van. So after I hit that goal, my next goal was repeat clients. So I wanted to be that superintendent that when so-and-so builds his next job, after I ran his first one, he would request me to run his second one. And I succeeded and had a few jobs like that too. So there's a lot of different facets in construction. I started out as a laborer. First job I ever worked on was a 45 unit apartment complex. And I was putting on joist hangers, just easy job, right? Putting on joist hangers. Again, I was in charge of all the garbage and stuff. So I was driving SkyTrack. So my farming background, driving tractors kind of helped with that. Driving a SkyTrack and filling dumpsters and, doing decks. I did some deck work. I framed a bunch of fireplaces, just that kind of stuff. Then I moved on to some concrete work with Weiser. I did a bunch of concrete work. I did some ag work, some pits, and did a lot of foundations. And I didn't like it at the time, I guess. I didn't like doing foundations at the time, but, I kept an open mind and it was work. So they were paying me to do a job no matter what task I was given. So learned a lot about foundations, learned a lot about building layout and, all this stuff, as we went through, the next thing I did is I paired up with a guy, another superintendent, and he was on the trim side of things, and I kind of hung out with him. He'd do his jobs from the ground up. He'd start laying them out, do the footings, foundations, and then his specialty was really trim work. So, he kind of grabbed onto me, and he didn't like very many people, but he kind of grabbed onto me for some reason. And so I was kind of his pal for a while, and followed him around, and I learned a lot from the guy. He still works for Weezer. He's a good guy, and I still talk to him, at least once a month. But so yeah, I guess, if you were to say that I had a mentor in a large company like that, it's really hard to say when you have a mentor, because you do bounce around from job to job within that company. But Jim, his name was my mentor. So learned a lot from him. I really like the trim aspect of things. I always have, building clocks and stuff in 4-H. I always consider myself more of a fine carpenter. Than a concrete guy or a framing carpenter. I wanted to see things and do things at very tight tolerances. So that's what a trim carpenter does. So, after kind of going through all these different routines, I ended up working on a job in Twin Bluffs for a really wealthy individual. It was a house on the river, and Weezer's didn't do very many houses. This house was a $3.5 million house, and that was in 2004, I want to say. Either 2003 or 2004. So, by today's standards, that's all of a, that's all of a $4 million house, $4.5 million house by today's standards. So I was there, and the guy wanted it ran like a road crew. He wanted 12-hour days. He wanted Saturdays. He wanted his house ran fast and put up pretty quickly. So we started, and I was helping a superintendent, a really brilliant superintendent, very good in math. We got that job to a point where it was all roughed in, it was framed, and we were starting to finish, and I took over. So that was my first job. Was a $3.5 million house. So I ran the trim portion of it, but there was a lot of subcontractors underneath me. I had 15 carpenters underneath me at that point. And between masons, electricians, drywall guys, plumbers, there was almost 50 guys that I was the boss of, and I was 21 years old and didn't probably have any reason to be in that position. But, it was kind of, I don't know if you guys heard of the baptism by fire mentality, but that's what it was. It was kind of sink or swim, baptism by fire. So must have did well, because they kept me there, and they kept me running jobs. So I must have did okay. I had a lot of good older carpenters underneath me that really helped along the way. But and doing all that previous experience helped me in the future, because like Jim that would run his jobs from the ground up, I also ran my jobs from the ground up. So with Weezers, I do about 2 jobs a year, and I'd run them from the ground up. So I'd be the first one there, putting batter boards in the ground, laying out strings, digging the hole, pouring footings, foundations, and I'd be the last guy there doing shelving and cabinets or putting doorknobs on, things like that, the finish work. So I still enjoy the finish part of it probably the most. I think partially because it's the end of the job, and you really get to see it kind of come into fruition and see everything come together, and usually at that point the owner's really happy to see his product, and be able to walk through the space and see what he's got. So it's a really fun time for me. It's a really fun time. That trim stage is a great time, and it's a cleaner atmosphere. And like I say, I'm a trim carpenter. I like those tight tolerances and making something look really nice. So I'm kind of unique. There's not, within Weezer, for instance, there was probably a half dozen of us superintendents that could really do that. And there might be more now, because, like I say, when I left, there was about 100 people there, and now there's over 150. So, I think there's probably as many now, but it's kind of unique for a guy to be able to, hang a door one day and pour a foundation the next. But I guess moral of the story is stay versatile, stay um, open minded to different stuff. Yeah, I didn't like concrete, for instance, but as we go on throughout my career, you'll see where that really served me well and stuff too. So, um, even in like 2008, when things got really, really slow for the construction industry, I was helping do concrete at Quick Trip Bakery. Quick Trip was putting on a $38 million bakery edition, and I was doing concrete there. Well, now, if I didn't know how to do concrete, I would have for sure been laid off, right? And when you look at an employer, and if times ever get slow like that again, which someday they will, it's a cycle. Someday they will. You look at that employer, and who is he going to keep on? The guy that can only hang doors, or the guy that can pour flat work and hang doors and frame? And so be versatile. You might not like it all, but be versatile and open-minded to it. And some people don't like stuff because they don't know how to do it. And the more you get to know how to do it, the more you actually like doing it. So I ran jobs with Weezers up till 2014. Fall of 2014, I was approached by a really large residential contractor. And at that point, Weezer wasn't doing any high-end residential. And I had done a few houses for them. The biggest being a $5 million house I was on for a year and a half. So, with Weezer, I had kind of switched to interior build out. So doing like office spaces. I did a Topper's Pizza. I did a couple other restaurants in town here, and I did a lot of office spaces for like Reinhardt Foods, office space for Mutual of Omaha. Um, in the Social Security buildings, I did office spaces in those. So that was kind of my thing, interior build outs, remodels of interior of shells of buildings, um, I kind of, I didn't necessarily want to get into residential, the low end stuff or the normal stuff. I like the crazy stuff. I like the challenging stuff, right? The stuff that I feel that only a handful of people can do or even dare to do. That's the stuff I like. um so Kirchner approached me. Kirchner Custom Builders, they're called, and they build houses from 600,000 to 3.5 million. So I was right up my alley. Super high end custom home builder. Talked to them, and they needed a general superintendent, and they needed someone to manage and run their concrete division that they were starting, and someone to manage more light commercial stuff. Well, I fit the bill pretty good because I've done a lot of concrete and I've done a lot of commercial, and I've done high end homes as well. So I went in, talked to them. It was a salary job, and they hired me on the spot. So, but I had a big decision to make, with quitting a job like Weezer that I'd been on for so long. So, um, decided that the economy was really good, in 14 and stuff. Economy was still, it was rebounding, but it was really good. It was kind of a good time to take a risk. So I did it. They gave me a truck, they gave me a cell phone, tablet. They gave me $300,000 to spend on concrete, forms and trucks and skid steers. So I purchased all that stuff. In the spring we started running with our first foundations, and just by doing foundations, that company went from building 2 houses a year to building 6 houses a year. So it more than doubled their income, and their profit. And they grew from a company of, I think there was 15 when I was there, and they've got like 40 right now. So just by adding the concrete facet opened the doors. And they're kind of a unique company where they do painting. They've got an in-house painter, so a booth painter. So by booth painter, I mean he'll spray everything in a booth, doors, cabinetry. And then they've got on-site painters that will paint walls in your house, after you get them all drywalled and textured, or paint the exteriors or whatnot. So they've got a paint division. They've got their commercial stuff that they do, like commercial stuff they do. Then they have their big houses that they do. So they're pretty versatile now. They do a lot of concrete, a lot of foundations, a lot of decorative concrete. Because of course with these houses come a lot of concrete as well. I think the biggest house I did for him had over 760 yards of concrete, just in the foundation of it. So a lot of concrete. That was in a place where he was below floodplain. So his basement slab was 2 foot 10 inches thick, because the weight of that concrete is going to hold that house from floating. So believe it or not, when that floodwater comes up, when the Mississippi rises, it'll actually take a house and it'll start floating, and the concrete and everything, it'll float that house, or the hydrostatic pressure will actually pop that floor. So the idea behind these thick slabs was that that's too big and too heavy for for the water to do anything about it, right? So that was probably the biggest foundation I did with them. So I went to Kirchner in fall of 14, and I was with them for 4 years. I was with them. My end goal with them was to become a project manager. I consider myself a pretty organized person, and I wanted to, and a project manager, what he does is organizes all of multiple jobs, right? So he might have 4 jobs, 5 jobs that are his, but he does the material takeoffs, the estimating, to some point with an estimator he'll do. He makes sure that job's on track. He talks to the superintendent. He orders all the special material, all the lead time items, stuff that's going to take a long time. So that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be someone that was super organized, that superintendents wanted to work with, right? And as a superintendent, my goal, was to be something similar, somebody that's really organized, that subcontractors want to work on my jobs, because I understand them, and a good organized superintendent will make the whole rest of the job profitable, is what I always said. But so anyways, I went to Kirchner for 4 years. Poured a lot of concrete with them. I got to know concrete a lot better. I got a lot better at it, especially finished floors and decorative, which also ends up helping me along my career. Got really good at estimating, doing material takeoffs, because I was estimating all my concrete work. I was helping estimate the residential stuff, estimating the commercial stuff. So I got well versed in all that. So in the late fall of 2018, I was doing a job for a friend. So as a construction guy, what you guys are going to find is that you're going to get calls from everybody. Hey, can you finish my basement? Can you do put my egress window in? Can you hang a door for me? I need a new front door. So for a friend's sister, I was finishing her basement, right? Side jobs, we call them, side hustles. It was Christmas time, it was a good, make an extra $4 or $5 for Christmas for the kids and stuff. So, I always try to take on one for Christmas spending money, but it's play money, right? It's fun money. You keep it in a separate account. I do, and it's just my play money. So I hunt. Obviously, I hunt. So buys my bows and buys my hunting stuff and things. So, but anyways, side jobs. So you're always gonna have side jobs. Always gonna be able to make money. And so she was a custom class. She headed custom, it's called, up in Minnesota State College Southeast. So her job would be to bring, say I had a contractor that their guys wanted to learn how to read blueprints better. She would talk to the instructor, and they'd set up a blueprint reading class together, right? So that was her job. So she's like, our carpentry instructor is retiring, you should apply. And I thought she was nuts. I never saw myself as a teacher, by no means. Just a construction guy that is pretty well, at the top right now, and making good money. But obviously I was still swinging a hammer and stuff. So, still hard on your body, of course. You're out in the elements. I'd be out there right now, and it just started snowing really good here. So, you'd be out in this, you'd be out fighting that ice this morning. I would have been at work at 7:00. So I thought, well, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea, but I really didn't think much of it. And so she approached me a couple weeks later, and she said, hey, I think you should come up and talk to the dean up there, because they're going to cancel the program. And construction industry for a while now has been really short on, I don't know if you guys follow micro at all, but he says it a lot, the skills gap, right? He always says skills gap. And, the back history behind the skills gap is in '08 that we talked about it in 2008 when things were really slow. We lost a lot of those mid-range carpenters that would have become superintendents by now. So we have a lot of aging superintendents. We have a lot of super young guys that are inexperienced, and we don't have anything in between. And that's the skills gap. So that's why it's important for, you guys, the next generation, to get some schooling, get some background, and really want to go into this, because there's definitely a need for people right now, for personnel. For instance, I'm starting to hire out students right now, and I had contractors calling as early as December wanting hires in May because they're booked a year and a half out and they know they're going to be that busy. So, the dean said she said the dean was going to cancel the program, was going to shut it down. Well, the way I looked at, the programs, whether it be the one down in Western or the one I run up in Southeast in Winona, we're really the eyes for high school kids like you. Like we're the ones that should be out there talking to you guys, meeting you guys, knowing your instructors. We're kind of like the first people that you guys can talk to, right, about a career in construction, just like you are here today. And I think I was supposed to have like 29 signed up, but I'm guessing weather maybe or something. But so it's good for me to get out there, and that was part of my job. Early on, is to get out there and talk to all you guys. So I went up and talked to the dean. I said, you can't cancel this program. There's a ton of need out there, and that would leave us with one program, from La Crosse to Rochester, so as far as local contractors go, it's pretty hard to pull a student from Rochester, right, and get them to work for you. So talked to him for a while, and he says, well, why don't you come on as adjunct and help me create, so adjunct means part-time, help me create a program that's more up to today's standards, introduce more commercial construction into it, and concrete, and give the contractors what they need in this program. So that's what I did. So I was still working full-time with Kirchner, worked also with the school nights and Friday afternoons and stuff. And that turned into them offering me a job. So I started working with the college in 2018. January 17th of 2018 was my first day. And that first semester, I had only 2 students that were just left over from the other retired instructor. And so I kind of supervised those 2, and I got everything approved. So everything in a program takes about 6 months to approve. So it was important for me to get my curriculum in so everything could be approved by the time we started back up in the fall again. So I spent the first 5 weeks just creating curriculum, writing common learning outcomes, and just getting everything ready for what they call it. It's called AASC committee. So that goes all the way up to the state. Everything got approved. And I started with a class of 16 students in the fall of 2018 was my first class. So I'll talk a little bit about the program now. So the program is either a 1 or a 2-year program. There's not a lot of 2-year programs. It's an associate's degree program. There's not a lot of construction associate's degree programs out there. So that's unique to the program. The other unique thing is where other programs will take 3 semesters to get you out on the diploma side of it. I take 9 months or 2 semesters. So we kick you out a little sooner. We kick you out in May. I shouldn't say kick you out, but you can go out and get a job. You can come in, get trained, and leave in 9 months and have a good paying job, really good paying job. My students start out between 18 and 20 bucks an hour with benefits and stuff. So it's a good paying job, especially, you consider like my my 9-month program, my diploma program is an $8,000 program. So pretty quick return on your investment when you're making $20 an hour, you know. So the program covers a lot. You know, we talked earlier about being versatile and how important that was, and that's how I treat the program, and that's how I talk to my students, is that, you know, I'm going to show you a lot of different stuff, a lot of different facets of construction, and you can either pick one, or you can kind of embrace all of them and kind of have some knowledge in all of them, so you're versatile, right? So we teach cabinet making. We pour a bunch of concrete. We do decorative concrete. We do foundations. We do wood framing. We do steel stud framing, wood doors, steel doors. Um, what else do we do? Teach all the trim work stuff with our cabinetry. We do drywall. We have done some acid staining of concrete floors. We do resin tables, you know, just kind of crafty stuff. Resin tables, we'll do river tables. So we do a lot of stuff. So you look at the careers that can come out of my program, and you can do either foundation. You do foundation layout. I mean, if we do work on a $32,000 instrument called a total station for building layout, and there are jobs just in doing that. Like, you could just do that for people, right? So you could do building layout and become a professional in that. You could do concrete, whether it's flat work or foundation. Sometimes that's two separate avenues in concrete, or sometimes they'll do both. Um, you could do rough carpentry, you know, residential framing, residential roofing, drywall. You could do cabinet making, just be a trim carpenter. You'd be a tile guy, you'd be a flooring guy. So there's a lot of different avenues where my students could take it. And again, I think that helps you guys out a lot, because coming into the program, you might not know you like concrete or you like drywall, and all of a sudden you're really good at it and you're like, I kind of like this stuff. So stuff that, you know, a lot of my students come in and they just think, okay, carpenter, I'm gonna be a residential framer, I'm gonna, you know, be framing wood studs, and that's all I want to do, you know. And some people do that, but a lot of people won't, you know. A lot of people will go into something else, or just kind of be well-rounded, right? So any questions for me so far?
Do you have any advice for someone wanting to get into construction?
Yeah. So, you know, whether you come to a program like mine or get hired from a contractor, it's totally up to you. I've seen it both ways, being on the contractor side. I've seen people successful both ways. I will say, going to the program, for me, I learned a lot of the terminology, and that really helped me, you know, because if I were to say right now, you know, grab me a pre-cut 8-foot 2x4, and then I'm going to need a top plate, a bottom plate, cut me a shoulder, you know, and a header, you know, I don't know how many of you guys know what that means, you know, and that's just on the framing side. I mean, we can talk, you know, we talk a lot of terminology. So what I see a program like mine doing is, it gives you a good base. It also allows you to get hired by a better employer usually, because I try to stay away from the guys that aren't good, right? And if you come to me and say, hey, so and so wants to hire me, I can tell you, well, he's good, or he's not so good, or he treats his guys well. So the program has has some benefits for sure. You know, am I going to kick a student out of the program by the time he's done? Is he going to be able to build his own house and be really efficient at it? Probably not, because it takes years. It took me 5 years to get really good at, and looking ahead, you know, and stuff. Um, so one avenue would be, you know, attend a program like mine, or if you get hired right on, you know, just be aware of your surroundings and really learn the terminology fast and stuff, or do some research on your own and learn it fast. My biggest thing that I tell my students is, you know, when I talked about very early on that I showed up early and unlocked everything and stayed late and make sure the lights were off and everything was locked back up, do that. You know, just come early and stay late. Don't be the guy that gets out of his truck if starting time 7 o'clock. Don't get out of his truck at 6:59. Stretch, grab his lunch pail, and walk to the job site. You know, at 7 o'clock means I'm there with a hammer on, pouches on, working at 7 o'clock. So I think that really helped me because it showed my bosses that, I wanted to be there and that I'm vested in this job site, and that I've got good work ethic, right? So I think that would really make you stand out and grow in the industry pretty quickly as well. Did that answer it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? So I can scroll through some pictures. I think, are we done at 9, right? I think we're done at 9. So I'll share my screen here. So I'll go through some pictures that I've got, and some of the pictures are jobs that I've done in the past, but it's just going to kind of give you guys a visual of a job site and make sure you ask me questions about them, and I'll give you some background on the pictures. Some of them are jobs that we've done with the students. We do work for Habitat for Humanity. So we've built 2 additions to their restore for like a receiving end and a shop end. And then we're doing houses for them. We start a house in March here, middle of March. When the weather lets up a little bit, we're going to dig a foundation, start a house for them. So we offer them some young volunteers, but we do that house from the ground up. We're making cabinets for it actually right now in our cabinet shop before it's even built. So I'll share my screen. All right. You guys see all that? So this is a job that this. So this is a job I did. This is my first job I did with Kirchner when I went there, my first foundation. So these are footing forms. This is an aluminum form system, and it is the trailer was, what was this trailer with all these forms? I want to say $42,000 for all these forms. And they're 12 inches deep. Inspectors love them. And it's a really unique system. If you guys ever are bored and want to search or Google easy as in the letters EZ footings, it'll pop up. They're made in Salt Lake City. We actually met the truck halfway. We drove halfway to Salt Lake City to grab these with a trailer. But so these are our footings. So this is what's going to hold up your entire building. This is right before we poured. They're lined in plastic because that's going to make stripping these forms easier. But you'll see the rebar. You see your 2 sticks of rebar. That's number 4 rebar. So you see the rebar in it. These here are sleeves. So this is the mechanical room. So this is where those mechanicals are going to run through this footing here. So this would be your water line, or could be your electrical. I'm not sure which sleeve did what on this one, but let's see. I got some other pictures of it here. Yeah, here's some more pictures of it. So it's a pretty big house. This was about a $1.8 million house in the country club here on Alaska. So this would be a walkout basement. That's why these footings step down for frost coverage, because it'd be a walkout type basement. Front of the house is kind of where my arrow is here. And then living room over there. And then again, this was all walkout. So this was 2 stories and a walkout. All right, we'll scroll through some more here. Let's see. I got to go back. All right, so let's go to so I don't have any pictures of that house completed on here, but I do have some more foundation pictures. So here we are stripping. We're actually right now we're pouring. This is a big house. This is a $3.8 million house. It has a basketball court down here. This was 580 lineal feet of foundation. And to give that reference to the last one we looked at, the picture before was 340 lineal feet of foundation. So this one's quite a bit bigger. This was, what was this, 15,000 square foot this house was. The individual had 9 kids, so he actually needed the square foot. A lot of times you build a multi-million-dollar house and it's for, 3 people and they don't need 8,000 square feet. But this one, they probably used it all. And they probably used the basketball court, a lot of it too. So what we're pouring right here, this is just the front stoop. So there's frost protection on that front stoop. You can see that step right here in your foundation, because we're jumping up to a 4-foot frost wall. But here you can see the walls are poured. These forms are called advanced forms. They're made down in Madison, Wisconsin. Really popular form. But yeah, we're getting ready to pour here. And there's another picture of it. There was the pump there. So here's our pump truck dumping concrete in the hole here. So you can see concrete coming out of this tube. This guy here is an operator. So this little remote that he's got is controlling that big truck with 112 feet of hose on it. So that's called an aerial pump. And yeah, he's pumping concrete into these walls because it'd be pretty hard to get concrete in here right out of the truck. So this guy can reach 112 feet. There's another one in La Crosse area that can reach 135 feet. That's about the biggest one we have around here. Okay, so then this guy just has to hold this hose and let the concrete drop. So this is a house. I don't know if it's hard for you guys to see. So this is a house that we tore down and I built a new house with. So with Kirchner, this would be my first house that I did start to finish. The one we replaced this house with. So here the guy is tearing it down and putting it in a dumpster. It took him about 5 hours to get that whole house in a dumpster. So here we got the foundations poured on the thing. And I got pictures from this from kind of start to finish. So we'll go through this job site start to finish. So here we got foundations poured. You can see the water here. So this was on the floodplain, of course. Or what they do is they look at where your 100-year flood mark is. And they set your foundation according to that. So right now, this foundation is set right to that 100-year flood mark. It actually had a whole bunch of sheet pilings down here holding all these walls up and stuff. So we really couldn't go any deeper with this house and we couldn't put a basement under it. So this is just a crawl space underneath this. It's still a cemented floor, but what you're seeing here is our beam lines that are holding up that first floor system. Okay. There again, there's the beam lines. So that's going to hold up my first floor system. So now here's that first floor system is on and we're starting to frame these first floor walls. Some more walls. So I'm standing right outside the garage here looking down at it. So you can see there's a lot of angles of this house, a lot of jogs. I think there's 38 corners in this house. So now we got the walls up and we're starting the second floor system. So the first floor system was what's called TGI joists. These are floor trusses. So there's webs in these. So you can run your ductwork and your electrical through here. That's pretty typical from first floor to second floor. But you can see all the different beam work in here because of all the different angles. This is called a PSL. These are LVLs. But you see all the different angles to this house. There's all the different. So we talked about this PSL. So that PSL is holding up 1, 2, 3, 4 different beams, right? So the load of that gets transferred right down into the foundation. And we had a footing poured underneath that. If you guys got any questions, just give me a yell. But so this was a pretty intricate house as far as framing goes because it was kind of skewed at a 45-degree angle. Had some red iron in it, some steel. So you get a mix of wood and steel. There's the view. So here's up on the roof of this thing. So we got the second floor walls framed, and here's the roof. There was 260 different types of trusses in this roof system. So it was an 812, so it was pretty steep, and it was pretty complex, right? You can see, all the different pieces and parts to this roof system. So it was a big roof system. There's looking over the river. So there's down at the river looking up at it. So it's a pretty nice house. So here we're getting siding on. So we started this job in September. I think this was probably, about this time of year, maybe earlier January, where we're starting to put all the siding on. Reason this is all left off here because this will be stone. And they didn't want to do stone until it got a little warmer out. So we started our siding above that. But this is all you can see up here, all these lights up in the soffits. There's the back side of it. So this would have been like a dining room. There's the house from the road. We almost have it sided, I think, at this point. Maybe we even have it sided at this point. But it actually looks a lot bigger from the water. And there's from the water again where we saw that framing picture. So here's a couple things we do in class. This is actually concrete. So that's a decorative concrete countertop. So we do those in class. What questions you guys got for me so far before I keep rolling?
How long would like a start to finish project take?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the project. Like that house there, we had that done by, I want to say late April. So, it's pretty typical for a house to take of that stature, $1 million plus house to take 6 to 8 months, on a house. So, yeah, I mean, like I say, that $5 million house I was on, I think I got a picture of that thing. I was there a year and a half, and I started 6 months into that. So I mean, they can take quite a while. I thought I had a picture of that $5 million shack in here. Man, I don't see it. But yeah, I mean, your typical is about, here it is. There, that guy. So that guy took a year and a half. But that's not your typical house, right? There was 2,000 yards of concrete in that house foundation. So yeah, that was a good question though. So what else you guys want to, we got only 9 minutes left. I can kind of keep scrolling around here with pictures. I can show you some more recent stuff. What other questions you got for me? So we talk about kind of what I do in class. If you're looking through, like, this is a foundation we're doing. You can see the pump truck there getting ready to roll. So this was a habitat foundation. Here's all the guys sitting around waiting for the concrete truck. Here's one of the other things we do. This is our total station. This is that expensive tool that I was talking about. That's a really blurry picture, but this is laying out points of a building. So we're in the classroom laying out points on a computer, and then that thing will map it out. So he's given it all the dimensions to the tablet, and then that thing will map it out on the ground time after time after time. Because when you lay out a foundation, you lay it out, dig it, lay it out again, pour footings, lay it out again, pour walls. So 3 times of being very accurate. So this machine makes it pretty within a 1/4 inch, I would say, of being perfect every time. Here's a community project we did. Tore off a roof on a elderly lady's garage and then reframed the roof system and reshingled it. Here's one of the projects, just a shed, nice garden shed. It's one I did last summer. Here's what we're doing now. So if you're interested in what we're doing now, here's our tiny house. So this year we got backed up a little bit with Habitat. They canceled their house until March. So this was our project. We had done one tiny house in the past. So this was our tiny house project this year. We're going to be putting flooring in real soon here on it. And the cabinets are being made right now for it. So we should be finished with that by mid-March was my goal before we start that Habitat house. So I can scroll through some pictures. We painted all the siding. Of course we framed it. I don't know if I had any framing pictures of it. Yeah, here's us framing it. So we're framing it. So we leveled up the trailer. This is right outside my wood shop. So we're framing it, did all the siding, painted all the siding, did all the exterior steel on the standing seam roof. So it's pretty unique, pretty cool looking. Other stuff we've done. You guys all seen river tables, right? So we typically do a river table for a golf outing. So this is a cherry one that we did with blue. And then if I go back one, this is a cherry burl. So a burl is that big knob on the outside of a tree. So that's your cherry burl. So you can see that burl right here. And then this is all the resin, the river of it. So when we raffle those off, those go to student scholarships. So we do that every year. So we got a few minutes left. Any other questions from you guys?
What is your favorite and least favorite part of the job?
Favorite part is seeing what you do every day, right? Seeing what you did every day. Like, if I framed a whole bunch of wall, I could see that. Or if I set a bunch of cabinets, I could see that. So visually, just that reward from seeing what you did. Sometimes now when I'm teaching, it's like, what the heck did I do today? I recorded videos or did lesson plans, and it's not visual, right? I can't like see it with my hand or with my eyes. That's my favorite part. The least favorite part is winter. For the first 16 years of my career, I spent 13 years completely outside in the winter. And so, yeah, winter sucks and it's not even the cold. It's just that you can't move as freely, right? I mean, you got boots on and coveralls on and gloves on. And you can't feel your screws or your nails and your tools are cold and your batteries are cold. So it's really challenging. And then you're trying to move with all that stuff on and try to move fast. It's like snail pace, it feels like. So winter is definitely my least favorite part of it for sure. So now that I'm teaching, I kind of have the best of both worlds because I'm in the fall and through the winter I'm teaching, and then in the summer I still do build garages and help people pour concrete and do this and that because I want to keep doing it because it's what I love. And spring's kind of bad too in the mud. You think spring is, oh yeah, it's finally spring, but it's pretty muddy out there. Some job sites in the clay are pretty bad. All right. What else you guys got? Okay. Well, thank you guys for tuning in.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anytime.
thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah.